happy about it. I actually think the Red Sox might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me!
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moonlight, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMassMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
And Hoffman's 0-2. And buries it in there for strike three, and that's it. Toronto takes the series 2-1. The Red Sox fall 5-3. 18 hits yesterday. They mustered only 8 today. They had a couple of chances fairly late in the game they could not capitalize on, and the Sox lose another series. That'll be 3 in a row.
Yeah, they had a couple chances, to your point. Walker Buehler, another tough outing. 4 runs, had some walks again. This wasn't the outing he was looking for, and then the offense couldn't pick him up in this second half of this ballgame.
I think you're right. That's the point of discussion afterwards. Is going to be Walker Buehler. They're going to huddle and talk about it, and I'm sure a bunch of questions for Cora as soon as they get a chance at him.
Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler should be the least of your concerns. He's only part of what is a big problem over at Fenway Park. This is what we're going to start tonight on the Baseball Hour. 617-779-0985. You already know the number, but I give it to you anyway. We'll talk Red Sox for the next hour. The baseball team in a nosedive. Again, this is now 7 of 8 that the Red Sox have lost. Most recently to the Toronto Blue Jays in a series, by the way, that the Red Sox actually outscored Toronto in and lost 2 out of 3. But again, this to me is the perfect barometer, or this series was a great barometer for what the Red Sox have been this year, because they had flashes early in the year where they would beat up on teams. They had that series against the Cardinals. They scored 18 runs in one of those games, and it looked like, okay, here we go. Red Sox are coming out of it. And then after a series of weeks, you know what we learned? That the Red Sox, while ranking in the top 6 or so of major league teams in runs scored, still managed to lose more games than they won, which is exactly what happened over the weekend. They outscored Toronto and lost more games than they won. And this is all really just a place to start, because watching the baseball, I'll be candid, I don't know how you're doing it right now. If you're watching, I can only watch in very small pieces. They're a hard team to dig into. And what drew the biggest response from me this weekend was Craig Breslow's visit in-game with the Nesson crew. I think it was Dave O'Brien and Will Middlebrooks in that game. They had the whole series. And I just can't, I vented about this earlier on Felger and Maz. I can't get past the bull crap with the Red Sox right now. Cannot get past it. And I just feel like they spew stuff that they want you to hear. It's not the reality. I have a hard time believing them, and I used this word earlier. I'll use it again because it is how I feel. There was so much optimism surrounding this team at the beginning of the year that they had spent on Bregman. They had traded for Crochet. Buehler came in on a 1-year contract, albeit but $21 million. And you thought, okay, there's a little bit of a pulse there. The Red Sox are going to actually try to give you something, and they're going to build a team around these young guys, and they're going to give you a good product. And then it all went poof, gone. And when I listen to Craig Breslow talk, it's impossible to believe anything he says. It's impossible to believe anything the organization says. And I think what's been going on in the last few days and last week, really over at Fenway Park, is nothing more than a campaign to try to get you to have some level of confidence in Craig Breslow, because after the deal that sent Rafael Devers to the Giants, I think the Red Sox lost their fan base again. I don't know any other way to say that. If you're like me, you feel pretty hopeless, and let me explain to you why. Craig Breslow's not going to get fired. Remember where we were when he got hired. Chaim Bloom had failed to make any sort of aggressive maneuvers, didn't treat the big league team seriously enough, so the Red Sox conducted a GM search. Jimmy Stewart went through the list of candidates who either interviewed or pulled themselves out of the running and came up with 14 names. 14! And they hired Breslow, who was the 14th guy. So they're not going to fire another general manager, chief baseball officer, and all of a sudden turn it over to Dave Dombrowski again or a Dave Dombrowski knockoff. Not going to happen. You're stuck with them for at least a little while. And now what are they doing? Breslow is going around talking to the Boston Globe. He certainly does his weekly interview on our competitors. He has spoken with The Athletic. He has spoken with all kinds of publications. He went on the game broadcast over the weekend. He spoke with Jared Carrabis on the field for almost an hour on Friday night, all in an attempt to offer up his side of the story, because Carrabis has been critical of Breslow and the Red Sox baseball operation. So the rehab campaign for Breslow is in full stride. He's not going anywhere. And some of the stuff he said on the game over the weekend left me scratching my head when I wasn't pounding it against the wall. So, again, let me ask you, and I feel like I'm asking the same question over and over again. What's your level of confidence in the organization? Not in the team in 2025, but in the organization. Because the Red Sox are trying to tell you that they haven't written off the year, but it sure feels like they have. And they're trying to tell you they're going to add at the trading deadline. Tell me, what are they going to add that fixes this? They can't pitch. Now they can't hit. They still can't play defense. They're not good at anything except losing. Maybe beating up on bad pitching and getting out all their frustrations in any given day. On one day, they can beat you up pretty good, 15-1, but they'll lose the series in the process. So anyway, Breslow on the broadcast, this is the stuff that really kind of got my blood boiling a little bit. We'll start with number one, Kevin Majori. This is Breslow on with Dave O'Brien and Will Middlebrooks.
How much consideration went into the timing of that deal and why?
Yeah, a lot of consideration, and there's never a great time to trade a player like Rafael Devers. And when I talk about how hard of a decision it was to make, the timing is part of it. Guys are feeling good, fans are excited, there's a ton of energy in the stadium, and something like that disrupts it pretty significantly. But you just never know when the opportunity is going to come up and when you have to take advantage of it.
Narvaez stroking this one down the line. Is it going to get out? And it is. It's gone.
Okay, now I want you to pay attention to something here, by the way, too, that I felt like every time Breslow started to answer a question, particularly one that was even remotely controversial in nature, and when I say controversial, I'm really talking about the idea of trading away Devers in the first place, saying they're going to add at the deadline, assessing what Devers was as a player and an influence in the clubhouse, this sort of stuff. Inevitably, it felt like during this interview, something happened on the field to disrupt it. So in this case, it was a home run by Narvaez. I took it as divine intervention, that it was almost the baseball god saying, this is such a bullcrap answer, we're going to go back to the game. That's what it felt like. Like anytime he got to some part, that was kind of bullcrap. So these things are hard to predict, and sometimes you don't know when the opportunity is going to pop up. What does Craig Breslow mean by opportunity? He makes it sound like he believes the Red Sox are better for that trade. And not just better in the clubhouse, but better on the field. The opportunity. It was an opportunity to dump a contract. Now, it would be nice if the Red Sox owned up to that, but honestly, I don't think that would do them any good either, because at the end of the day, they just need to start winning some freaking games. I really think it's that simple. They just need to win some games. So think about it. Think about the whole thing that happened with Devers. Devers has never been a malcontent here up until this year. It had never happened. There was no issue with Rafael Devers in terms of the impact on his teammates or the way he cooperated with the organization until this year. So how did that all change? And I've said this before, too. If I were the Red Sox, I would examine what it was that led to this flare-up and really explosion with Devers, because the thing fell apart. So I would really look into that and try to understand why we keep failing at good relationships with our players. And I'm trying to speak as if I were the Red Sox. What is it? That's what I would ask myself. What are we doing to keep screwing up these relationships? Because that's exactly what's happening over and over and over again. And here's the other part of it that makes no sense. The whole idea during the offseason was to bring in a right-handed bat to complement Rafael Devers. That was the whole plan. One of the biggest, along with the pitching. We need a right-handed bat. We all knew the needs. So the Red Sox said, we need a right-handed bat. We needed some starting pitching. They traded for Crochet. They signed Buehler. They went out and got Bregman, in theory, to put him between Devers and Casas. They even kept Christian Campbell on the roster prematurely to add a right-handed bat to the lineup. So it was such a need that they went out and got Bregman. And then they traded Devers? Think of that. Think of how badly that is evidence, how damning that evidence is that they botched the whole freaking thing. The whole idea was to put Bregman and Devers together in the middle of the lineup. They got 3 months into it, not even. And they traded Devers and ripped it apart again. 3 months. And Craig Breslow calls it an opportunity? It was an opportunity, he says. And that's not even the half of it. We'll play you all the things he said. I'll tell you what, we'll take some call. I'll take a call now, and then we'll get to the rest of you as well. Sean's in Salem. Sean, go ahead.
Hey, Tony. Have you ever read up on the Tampa Bay minor league system? Like, its culture? They have, like, a pitching condo type living the day you get there. You're made comfortable just to focus on pitching. Every pitcher that's been through it is nothing but praise. Red Sox are horrible at developing pitching and rehabbing it. And you know what happens? They get that reputation. And no pitchers or real GMs will want to come here. You have to invest in the minors if you're not going to spend. It's one or the other.
So, Sean, look, I'm not sure what they're good at anymore. And I this is why I use the word hopeless. I do. I feel like it's hopeless. What are they going to do that's going to change? They're clearly married to this philosophy of signing rehabbing pitchers or damaged goods, dumpster diving, and trying to get some sort of big bang for your buck, or finding a guy with a half-decent arm who might have some untapped potential and we'll tap into him. But you know what? They kind of suck at it. Not even kind of. They do. The rehab thing, they suck at it. We'll give you a specific example of that later in the show. Talk about a guy who had relatively nothing that while he was here. The Red Sox had him for a few months, moved on from him, and now he's doing good things somewhere else. And tell me if you haven't heard that story before. We'll get to that. Our intern, Thomas, looked up a history of the Red Sox signings when it comes to pitchers in the last, call it 5 or 6 years. It's a damning list. And we'll play you more of Craig Breslow's comments on the Nesson broadcast over the weekend. All that on the Baseball Hour tonight. Don't go anywhere.
Hour on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Did it come down to the Giants are willing to take the deal? They're taking the entire contracts, $254 million left, and they're saying right now, either take it or it's going to disappear.
There's so much that goes into a trade, especially like this, and it's always really hard to know how much is negotiating and posturing and how much is reality. But no, it wasn't any one factor. It's a combination of all of those things, and we really like the players that we were getting back, and you talk about those a lot, and you go back and forth and say, hey, this guy needs to be part of the deal, or would be great if we got this guy, but I think there's maybe a deal here still if we don't. But I think zooming out a little bit, like you still say, it's really unfortunate that we got to this place where the outcome was such that like it just felt like the only way to go was to give both sides a fresh start.
So again, I'm telling you, every time he started to get into an answer, something happened in the game that the crowd roared and they had to, he almost got drowned out. In this case, it was, it's really unfortunate we got to that stage with Devers. Really? What made it unfortunate? Because I would tell you it was the way the Red Sox responded to it. I still believe the Red Sox took it personally. And look, Devers, let me make this part clear. Devers acted like a freaking 3-year-old. Okay, he acted like a 3-year-old. I also think the Red Sox took his petulance in a personal manner. And if I owned a team, maybe I would too. Or if I ran a team, maybe I would too. So he called out the GM. He sat there in a meeting with the owner face to face and basically still refused to play another position, said he would do it in 2026. So the owner's looking at him going, wait a minute, I'm paying you how much a year? And you're going to look at me in my face and tell me no? And the chief baseball officer is going to say, hold on, you work for me and you're calling me out and telling me to do my job in front of everybody? So I can understand why they were agitated. But I'm with Jim Bowden on this one. Bite the bullet, put a good team on the field, be the bigger person and get by it. They acquired Bregman so they could have a right-left tandem in the middle of the order. That was the whole point. And then they traded Devers 3 months into it. Think of that. It's going to go down as one of the more rash and foolish baseball decisions they've made. Business decision might be good. The baseball decision was a mistake. Manny Ramirez was a pain in the ass. You tolerated him because you had a good team around him. So this guy's not nearly the pain in the ass that Manny was. And it wouldn't have taken all that much to put a good team around him. So to me, that's the part that I have a hard time getting around. It's just, do you want to win or not? And I think we know the answer to that now with the Red Sox. They want to turn into the Tampa Bay Rays of the North, except that they suck at what the Rays do. They can't get it right. And I said I was going to give you a specific example. The Red Sox traded Nick York to the Pirates, former first-round pick, for Quinn Priester, first-round pick. Both of those guys hadn't fully reached their potential. That was that at the end of last year? That was at the end of last season. In spring training, Priester was considered one of the depth pieces on the Red Sox pitching staff, right there with, Richard Fitz, Dobbins. And now, or I should say prior, right in the middle there, the Red Sox traded him away to the Brewers. And now Priester is 6-2 for the Brewers with an ERA in the low threes and struck out 11 guys in a game the other day. So how is it that the Brewers got their claws into him and turned him into an effective big league starter? The Red Sox worked with him for a little while, didn't like what they were seeing, and traded him away. And it feels like this story happens over and over again. There are guys here that they can't tap into that go elsewhere and pitch well. Seems like it happens a lot. So their pitching development program blows. Jordan in Boston. Jordan, what do you got?
So their actions are speaking way louder than words. As soon as you're trading Rafael Devers, you can't be telling us that you're buying. So I'm not into this team doing another one of these half-ass, like in on the deadline, out on the deadline. I would rather them just be fully out this year and let the young kids develop if that's really what we're going to do moving forward.
So, Jordan, I just refuse. How many years are they going to do that? How many years are we going to sit here and say, okay, season's lost, turn it over to the young guys? At some point here, I expect them to actually compete for the full 162. I don't think they've really done that. They've half-assed a bunch of deadlines. They don't really commit full hog to any one season. And as soon as it starts to go bad, they bail out. And it's the same crap over and over again. Every year it's the same crap. And they feed you the same lines, and it never changes. They change GMs. They change players. They could even change managers. I don't think it's going to change until the organization starts changing on the inside. I don't know if they can get through it. And speaking about spending at the deadline or being buyers at the deadline, Kevin, can we go with Breslow number 3 here? This is the one that talks about how they'll reallocate the money, I'm pretty sure. Breslow number 3.
Well, you got all that flexibility now. What are you going to do with it? It's a weird time maybe to take advantage of that.
Yeah, so we have financial flexibility, no doubt about that. But the trade deadline, you have to behave differently, and teams behave differently at the trade deadline than they do in free agency, mostly in that money alone isn't the only way to get players. But the flexibility does give us, the opportunity to take on contracts, take on players. And so we intend to be aggressive in looking for upgrades, and the more paths that we have to do that, the better. We also have a really deep farm system, and the ability to make trades from that system to help our big league team.
I'm telling you, prepare to be disappointed. Don't take the cheese. Prepare to be disappointed. How many times do you have to be smashed in the face with a frying pan before you realize that you're going to keep getting smashed in the face with a frying pan? So listen, the idea that they're going to take the money and reallocate it and go out and get some sort of superstar in the middle of the season, tell me, who's going to give up a bat that's comparable to Rafael Devers and trade him to the Red Sox in the middle of the season just to make the Red Sox competitive? Who's going to do that? I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping there's some sort of miracle out there and that trade happens, but I can't imagine that it's going to. So my guess is that what they're going to do at the deadline is some sort of half-assed, 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach. They'll tell you it's about making them better in 2025 when the reality is they're already planning for 2026. The tickets, after all, have all been sold. And whether they've been sold to Bostonians or not really doesn't matter. So they're not going to dig in, and I'll be surprised if they trade away any of those prospects he's talking about. One of the real tenets of a small market organization, and particularly in this analytical age, is that every player has value. Every player can be tapped into and has value and can offer something to the organization, particularly the pitchers. Again, it's just that the Red Sox suck at it. Breslow was brought here to develop the pitching operation, and I know it's not a one-year thing. But I don't think he's exactly off to a roaring start. Tanner Houck has gone backwards. Walker Buehler stinks. Lucas Giolito's been a little bit better of late, but let's see how that goes. They lost a full year with him. It was a 2-year contract. He was garbage, but he opted in because they were going to pay him $19 million. They'd have been happy if he were gone. I just don't see it. I don't see the major finds and discoveries they've made in the pitching department. I don't see it. And wait till I go through the philosophy blow by blow, name by name, to give you a better idea of what we're talking about. Because over the last 6 years, boy, have they signed some bums. Let's go to Glenn in New Orleans. Glenn, what do you got?
Yeah, it would be nice if we could come up with a Hunter Brown or Spencer Strickland. But anyway, Tony, what they did in the offseason with Bregman, Tatman, and Crochet, good moves. But I was not fooled. I still didn't think they had enough to compete. It's going to take another offseason of getting another starting quality pitcher, another quality right-handed bat who feels his position above average, and a couple of bullpen arms like a Chris Martin type. That's what it's going to take, at least, to get them competitive. That's just to get them competitive. They also need one of the two young guys to really develop, either Mayer or
Anthony. Roman Anthony.
Yep. And lastly, 21 was a bad sign for the Red Sox because it told ownership they could make the LCS with pitchers like Garrett Richards and Erod and Martin Perez, all of whom had ERAs of 4.5 and higher. So, it's bad all around, and I don't see any hope, not even for next year. Thank you.
So, Glenn, I feel the same way. I don't think they're going to change their philosophy. And when you rattle off their needs, it sounds easy on paper. I don't know how they're going to get all these people. Because you either have to go out and pay quality talent or be such a machine in terms of player development that you can literally, I keep saying, squeeze water from a stone. And I don't think they can do the second thing. They've tried over and over and over again, and frankly, they've failed miserably. I'll give you the blow-by-blow on that when we come back. Who's doing headlines? You, Kevin? Kevin Majori's got your headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Baseball Hour.
Back to Tony Maz and more of the Baseball Hour on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's $254 million off the books. And fans are, okay, what are you going to do with all that money? And I don't mean at the end of the season when it's free agent season. I mean right now to get thumped back in the lineup, guys who can hit home runs back in the lineup. That's what they're looking to you to go, well, you got all that flexibility now. What are you going to do with it? And it's a weird time maybe to take advantage of that.
Yeah, so we have financial flexibility, no doubt about that. But the trade deadline, you have to behave differently, and teams behave differently at the trade deadline than they do in free agency, mostly in that money alone isn't the only way to get players. But the flexibility does give us, the opportunity to take on contracts, take on players, and so we intend to be aggressive in looking for upgrades. And the more paths that we have to do that, the better. We also have a really deep farm system, and the ability to make trades from that system to help our big league team.
You can believe that if you want. As soon as Craig Breslow starts to qualify it. If you're expecting something big at this deadline, again, shame on you. What's that old expression? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Or the other way around. No, you get the idea. In other words, if you get off on telling people lies and fooling them all the time, well, then screw you. So what? The Red Sox are going to come out and all of a sudden use that money and make some sort of big move to replace Rafael Devers? Stop. There was one exchange, too, that we found interesting today on Felger and Maz. I want to play it for you here as well. In the midday show, Zolak and Bertrand, Beadle made a good observation about this particular comment. The question in this case is asked by Will Middlebrooks.
So you see a lot of these trades obviously end up happening the last week before the deadline, up until obviously the bell. Is that because a lot of teams hold on for value purposes, and if you were to make a trade here pretty early, you'd have to give up more than if you waited?
I think it's two things. I think one, with the playoff structure the way that it is, more teams see themselves as potentially being playoff teams, and they want to give their guys as much of a chance as possible to show that they deserve to be added to and improve the roster. And so it's really hard to decide, in June that you are kind of out of the playoff picture, especially as 12 teams are making the postseason, right? And then the other thing is teams tend to operate differently when there's this rigid deadline in place, and you tend not to get, a team's best offer right up until the 11th hour. And so teams have learned that by holding on, you can typically get a little bit more.
Okay, again, Beadle made this observation earlier in the day. Oh, so you mean at the deadline teams wait because that's when you get the most. Yet they traded Rafael Devers a week and a half ago. 2 weeks ago. Oh, I get it. So why didn't they hold on to Devers? And the answer? Because the offer wasn't going to change, because all they really wanted to do was dump the contract. Now, look, some of the guys that get in the deal might turn out to be players. I don't know. Crazier things have happened. But I would say throughout the game, not just here, the return the Red Sox got for Devers was largely panned. Most people thought the Giants got the best of that deal. They preserved their best prospect or prospects, and they were just willing to take on the money to add a hitter to the middle of their lineup. The Red Sox had no other suitors. Maybe they would have gotten them if they wanted to hold on, but they didn't. So on the one hand, they want to tell you that there was an opportunity. On the other hand, they want to tell you that generally speaking, you get more if you wait till the deadline. So again, they'll just answer the question in any way that gets you to shut up. That's it. Because they want you to just accept what they say, even though at the end of the day, they've been 500 now for 6 years. They're underwater now. They're 41 and 44, and it feels like it's getting worse. And they're devoid of talent, at least at the big league level. Just quickly on the Red Sox pitching philosophy, and then I want to get back to your calls because I see a couple of you lined up. You want to join, you can, 617-779-0985. The Red Sox approach on the pitching staff has been pretty obvious since they last won a World Series. Now, they re-signed Chris Sale. That was a mistake. All of us knew it at the time, so shame on Dave Dombrowski for that one. He pushed Henry on it. Henry could have resisted. He didn't, and it was a big mistake. That Chris Sale contract was a big mistake, and everyone knew it at the time. There was no need to sign him given the injuries he had in the last couple of years with the Red Sox. But they did, and they paid for it dearly. They've now gone completely in the other direction with pitching. So again, Thomas, our intern, went through and did the research on this. I asked him to look up and find pitchers that the Red Sox had signed over the last 6 years to 1 and 2 year deals, because they haven't signed anything more than that. Listen to the names. Martin Perez, Colin McHugh, Matt Andrees, Hirokazu Sawamura, Martin Perez a second time, Garrett Richards, Michael Walker, James Paxton, Rich Hill, Jake Diekman, Matt Strom, Joely Rodriguez, Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, Corey Kluber, Cooper Criswell, Lucas Giolito, Liam Hendricks, Chase Anderson, Brad Keller, Justin Wilson, Walker Buehler, Patrick Sandoval, Aroldis Chapman. Now, some of those, mostly relievers, have been okay. Chapman's been pretty good. Chris Martin was good when he was here. Martin Perez was okay, but remember, the Red Sox signed a number of these guys to really take on significant roles in their rotation. Walker was actually half decent, then they let him go because they didn't want to pay him. Paxton was hurt a lot. A lot of these guys were hurt a lot. A lot of these guys were signed coming off of Tommy John, knowing that the Red Sox wouldn't get anything in year one. Lucas Giolito, Liam Hendricks. But you add up all those contracts, and this is, there are probably names here that we missed, although I think Thomas got all of them. If you count Martin Perez as two different signings, it's 11, 15, 20, 24 pitchers over a 6-year period. This would be the 6th. 24 pitchers who have earned roughly $200 million. $200 million. Was that worth $200 million? What they spent here? Because I would say they pretty much flushed 150 of it down the toilet. So my question is this: would you be better off doing it this way and striking out every year and waiting for Tanner Houck to put 2 good years together, or Brian Bayo to figure it out? Would you be better off doing it this way, or would you be better off just giving $200 million to Max Fried? And are you going to get 8 good years out of him? No. But you might get 4 or 5, in which case it's worth it. And if you put him next to Crochet, he'll be an automatic contender. And you also can develop or continue to develop your Bayos and your Houks and whoever else, because there's less pressure on them to perform. I mean, I know which way I'd choose. Anthony and Waltham. Get Anthony.
Do you believe that Rafael Devers was going to be a problem in the clubhouse the way like David Price was with like Mookie Betts and the younger guys? Do you buy that?
No, I don't. He hung up. I'm wondering if fans buy it, because I don't. I think that Devers became a problem when all of a sudden he was forced to be the face and spokesperson for the team, at least the uniform personnel. And he was never equipped to do that. So, if you remember early on, what did we hear over and over again coming out of the Red Sox clubhouse? That Devers worshipped Xander Bogaerts. He looked up to him. And Bogaerts was a real leader. He was a guy that would stand there and answer questions, that was always dignified. And I know what you're going to say. They made the right call on Bogaerts from a baseball standpoint, and they did. But had they replaced him earlier on with a real leader, because I don't think Trevor Story is a real leader, and he certainly wasn't to Devers. But even if they had given Bogaerts the deal they gave Story, if they had been paying him instead of Trevor Story over this period of time, I'm convinced that this Rafael Devers thing never would have happened. Not in a million years. And who knows, maybe Bogarts could have convinced Devers to go to DH or play first base. Maybe he'd have listened. Or maybe if they had been a little more straight up with him. And I'm not telling you that Devers wasn't an a-hole through the process, because he was. I'm just telling you that I don't think the Red Sox handled it well either, and they certainly didn't put Devers in the right environment given his personality. So part of the reason they didn't tell him the truth is because they knew how he would react. He didn't like being the face of the team. It was never a fit. They kind of forced it on him because of the Mookie Betts fiasco, and they couldn't let everybody leave. So it's just a chain reaction of these things that happen to the Red Sox, all based on bad decisions that they've made. So here you are again. Tomorrow's July 1st. They've played more than half the season. They've lost 7 out of 8. Now the Reds are in town. They're 3 games under 500, and the trading deadline's in 4.5 weeks. Does anybody really think, and that 4.5 weeks includes the All-Star break, so it's really closer to 4 weeks or a little less. Does anyone really think that all of a sudden they're going to turn it around and they're going to add pieces and make the playoffs? I hope I'm wrong. I don't see it happening. I don't see anything remotely close to that happening. They might play better in the second half or in September because some of the young guys will have a little experience and their feet will be wet. But the pitching, not good enough. The defense, not good enough. The team, not good enough. We'll wrap it up when we come back. Red Sox play the Cincinnati Reds here at the beginning of this week. Open over 3-game series tonight over at Fenway. Couple of small things coming out of Fenway Park. First of all, Marcelo Meyer back in the lineup. He was on bereavement leave for the weekend, but he's back with the team. I haven't even checked the starting lineup, but I presume he's in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have activated him, but my guess is that he's in there. Secondly is this, and there's been a lot of chatter about this lately. Alex Bregman spoke with members of the media tonight before the game. This is in Mass Live that I'm reading now by Chris Cotillo. The headline is, Alex Bregman, quote, open to listening, close quote, on new Red Sox contract and reveals a, quote, high priority, close quote, when it comes to his future. Kevin Majori, if you were Alex Bregman and you were going to sign a contract somewhere, what would your number one priority be?
Money. I've won a championship. I've won multiple championships. I just want to cash in.
Good answer. Good answer. That's basically what he said. So I'll read you this paragraph from Chris Cotillo, who writes, Bregman, who didn't find the long-term contract he was looking for in his first go-round in free agency last winter, said he's craving certainty as he looks ahead. At 31 years old, Bregman isn't shy about his desire to sign a deal in a place he can call home for the rest of his career. So what he wants is a long-term deal, which is a big financial commitment. That's definitely a very high priority, he said. See, I foolishly was expecting winning, but this comment that Bregman made did get me to laugh. I expected to love playing here, and I've definitely loved playing here, Bregman said. It's a great place to play baseball. Being able to play for this organization is awesome. My expectations were all positive, and it's definitely lived up to those positive expectations. How could that possibly be true? This thing has been a clown show. He's hurt. The team's been a joke. The Rafael Devers thing was a fiasco. How can he say this has totally lived up to it? You know what that is? That's more bullcrap coming out of Fenway Park, because Alex Bregman knows that he could have the Red Sox by the short and curlies right now, and he's trying to get himself a long-term contract. So he loves it. Red Sox are under pressure. Bregman's like, I'll be your hero. Just give me the dough. As Kevin Majori just said here a second ago. He's already won. He doesn't need another title. What he needs is money. Good call, Kevin. Anyway, Jimmy Stewart's got you tonight in place of Joe Murray. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. You don't want to miss Stu. I'm going to be dialed in on the way home, Jimmy. You have no idea.
At least for the opening take, because I agree with you.
Okay. Majori's got your headlines. We'll see you tomorrow.